Denise Jennings Doyle is with us here this morning as we talk about the Blairsville Underground Railroad and what is, for your organization, a new thing, a groundbreaking thing, if you will.
Yes, actually, this year, our annual History at High Noon tour is a historic tour, and we will be conducting this tour on Philadelphia Street here in Indiana. Yes, sir.
How about that?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting for us.
Yeah, so this is going to be happening during the Westsylvania Jazz and Blues Festival.
Absolutely. So how it will work, it's a first-come, first-served kind of tour, and our tours are very popular. So you will come to IRMC Park. You will sign up for a tour. The tour cost is $5 per person, and then you'll be led by a tour guide. And so our tour will leave from IRMC Park. It will proceed, oh my goodness, which way? East on Philadelphia Street. Trying to orient myself this morning. To the corner of 6th and Philly. And then we will go left, which is north on 6th Street, down to the Brown Hotel, cross over, come back to Philadelphia Street, cross over Philly, and then proceed west. And coming down here to 8th Street, just half a block away, and then back to IRMC Park. So we'll be interpreting some of the histories of the buildings, and we'll be talking about some architectural style. But more importantly, you may meet some historic figures along the way. Yes.
Real live historic figures.
Real live historic figures. You may experience a little bit of time shift as we walk.
Well, let's talk about Indiana and Indiana's connection to the Underground Railroad. It was a very, very significant part, wasn't it?
Absolutely. To date, I have identified 60, not 16, 60 Underground Railroad conductors in Indiana County.
Wow.
It's outstanding. Yeah. In 1858, there was a man who, just by happenstance, participated in the rescue of Richard Newman in Blairsville, and he sent a letter to Theodore Parker that he believed, and Theodore Parker was a well-known abolitionist, he believed that within 36 hours, Indiana County could pull together 3,000 good and true men.
Wow.
That's pretty incredible.
It really, really is, especially in that day and age.
Yes.
When you were taking a real risk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The risk for most people was for property. You could be sued because even though Pennsylvania was a free state, the federal laws superseded that and said that slave owners could pursue their freedom-seeking enslaved population into our area.
The Fugitive Slave Act.
Of 1850, correct. And you could be forcibly deputized and forced to help them.
Wow.
Yes. But the risk for our African American population in Indiana County was even greater. We had some significant African American Underground Railroad conductors, and for them, the punishment was different. You could be jailed and lashed.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Fugitive Slave Act. That's Fillmore, isn't it? Is that Millard Fillmore? At any rate, that's plumbing the depths here as we think about this event that is coming up. So folks just need to show up, and that'll be on the Saturday, which is the 25th.
Correct, May 25th. History at High Noon. Guess what time it is? Guess what time I tour?
Sometime around noon.
Oh, you're so smart. You got it. Absolutely. Yes. So we would, of course, appreciate your $5 per person.
Sure.
Or any other donations, of course, are accepted. We don't have a funding source, so we operate on the generosity of our visitors and our tour participants, and also grants over the years.
Yeah. So you were telling me that there was actually a tour group in around the area yesterday. They came from Cincinnati?
Yes. There was a young a group of young individuals from the John Parker School. Mm-hmm. It's part of the public school system in Cincinnati, Ohio. And they hopped on a tour bus, visited Pittsburgh first, and they were on their way to Hershey, actually. Okay. So they stopped at the Heinz History Center, spent the night in Pittsburgh, and then traveled to the Blairsville Area Underground Railroad History Center. Mm-hmm. In the morning, we hosted them. We had a historic interpreter there to greet them. And I don't know if you're familiar with David Janicek of the Evergreen. I know
I've heard of the guy.
Yeah, it's hard to even keep him off the radio, isn't it? Jeez. So David was on hand as a great volunteer, and he interpreted a George Atchison, who was an Underground Railroad conductor out in the Cherry Tree area.
Well, that's one of the interesting things about it is we think about Indiana County and its role in the Underground Railroad, and it really was a county-wide thing. There's Cherry Tree, of course. You're based in Blairsville. Here in Indiana, of course, for what's coming up at the festival later this month. But it really was. It was all over Indiana County, and that was of necessity in order to get the slaves, the freed slaves or the escaped slaves, into what would be for them a really safe place.
The only truly safe place would have been Canada.
Yeah.
Yes. So absolutely. And people talk about the roots of the Underground Railroad, which really, when you consider it, it's kind of like throwing spaghetti at a map.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are obvious ways that one would travel north, east, west through our county. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to stick to established roads when you're trying to avoid detection. Yeah. Now, we're pretty rural here, so the movement wasn't always that noticeable. Mm-hmm. But for some of the communities that were more highly populated, like Blairsville in Indiana, the means of concealment were much more important.
Yeah, absolutely. They wanted to stay as far away from these areas, the more settled areas, but at the same time they needed those settled areas in order to get the resources they needed to move along.
Yes, that's why in Blairsville we had the John Graff home, which John Graff was a very wealthy merchant. He was a coal mine owner, and he had a tunnel constructed from the top of the Conemaugh Riverbank under his son's home, under South Liberty Street, and into the floor of his carriage house.
Yeah, that's just amazing.
As a means of concealment, yeah. But we really dedicate our program to the men and the women and the children who very bravely risked their lives and limbs to escape their bondage. Yeah. Because without them, no one would be talking about John Graff. No one would be talking about Dr. Mitchell. They would just be doctors and merchants.
I remember growing up in Bolivar and people talking about, there's the Pack Saddle Gap and how there were stops in all along there and all the way out of the area, into and out of the area. Just an amazing history of Indiana County that really not as many people know about as should. But this is a way to actually get people into it, get them to understand how vital Indiana County was in the Underground Railroad. So give us the details again. It's on May the 25th.
May 25th, yes. And the tours will be forming at IRMC Park at noon. We will have 4 tours. Okay. Each tour, the maximum that we could really comfortably guide is 20. We prefer 15. So you see that our space is limited. Yeah. So we will be touring rain or shine.
Oh, okay.
If it's storming, however, we won't be there.
Okay.
We're not going to risk life and limb.
Oh, this is Indiana. It never rains.
No, not a bit. No.
All right. So if somebody wants to learn more, what do they need to do?
Well, they can call me. Now, we have a Google phone number, but if you're really looking for information, just calling me personally. I'm the president of the Blairsville Area Underground Railroad. So my phone number is 724-599-8105. Or you could access our website. Now, this is a mouthful. It is Underground Railroad Blairsville
She's trying. Just Google Underground Railroad Blairsville. It'll take you there.
Yes, and we have a new website. So it's a lot more fun than our old site. We are going to be pairing some interpretive signage this summer in Blairsville with some QR codes to our website, so you can get our information there. We have an email address, blairsvilleugrr@yahoo.com. So those are some ways to get a hold of us. We're always available. Our Underground Railroad History Center, 214 Southeast Lane in Blairsville, is only open by appointment at this point, but you can give us a call and we'll get a volunteer there to open up for you. We have some new exhibits that are going in. This is all thanks to Indiana County Endowment. They need a shout out because they funded our new signage, which will be going up in the Blairsville area, and some upgrades to some existing exhibits. We are integrating technology. Kids seem to like the swiping much better than standing and reading.
Kids like to swipe.
They like to swipe.
There you go. There's a certain connotation to that we don't want to get into. May the 25th, downtown Indiana, IRMC Park, during the Delaney Chevrolet Westsylvania Jazz and Blues Festival. Yes. Get to the table and get yourself registered and go in one of these stores. Denise Jennings Doyle, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day now.
We appreciate you too. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM.